no, you can see it. You can visibly sense it in the city centre. We're a long way behind other core cities. Do you know what I mean by say core cities? So there's London's not, but it's Leeds, Sheffield, Manchester, Liverpool, Glasgow, Bristol. They're the core cities. Birmingham. So we're a long way behind those, but it's not a competition we want to be in. So a bit of background is quite useful. So Leeds has and still has more temporary and emergency accommodation than there are homeless people and rough sleeping that are identified in the city. And if you see someone rough sleeping, 99 times out of 100, the homeless outreach team will know who they are and know something about them and have a relationship with them. Where there's a mismatch, I think, is between the type of emergency and temporary accommodation and the people's rough sleeping desires and lifestyles and wants. And I think, give you an example, homeless people in my ward that I know that hang about not too far from where we're sat having this interview, is they'll say to me, well, Neil, what I want is a council bedsit. Because if I had a council bedsit, I could have my lifestyle that normal folk have. Might be a bit chaotic, but who don't have a chaotic lifestyle from time to time? And they're right, to an extent. So a lot of this is driven by Britain's housing crisis. There is a shortage, and we spend every pound we're allowed to building what council housing we're allowed to build, every damn pound. And we spent a lot of money on temporary accommodation. We've just loaned St George's Crypt. You're aware of St George's Crypt? Yeah. So we've just loaned St George's Crypt a huge amount of money to expand their hostel programme. So it's something we're aware of. I'm not surprised, but it's something the council is aware of and working on. Drug use among homelessness people, the emergence of spice has really changed things. Spice is terrifying. So had it explained to me that what spice does, like heroin is your classic inject or smoke, and it's an opiate release. Spice is different. Spice compresses time. I mean, all psychoactive drugs, substances have an effect on a human's perception of time and space. But spice compresses time. It's where you get the zombie effect.
Yeah.
So that if you can smoke a spice joint, so 8 hours before you get your hostel bed for the night, it can seem like 20 minutes. I've had it put to me. And you're sort of not tripping in a sort of an LSD kind of way, but you sort of high during that time as well, asleep, tripping out.
That's fragmented, basically.
Yeah.
The perception of time.
So if you're homeless, why wouldn't you want to compress time?
Yeah.
And it's readily available. For years and years and years in Britain, councils have been very much constrained in what council housing they can build. Mm-hmm. Now, sort of in the period under the previous Labour government, that didn't matter so much because from central government there was a lot of money coming to housing associations, and there was a lot of money coming to local authorities for social programmes. There was a lot of money coming to councils to redo the Better Homes programme, to redo the council housing stock, even if we weren't building a tremendous number of new ones. Housing associations were. Now what happened in 2010 is that crashed dead stop. Governments changed and austerity came in, and the number of social housing bills, the data's there, just falls off a cliff and hasn't really recovered a great deal until recently. The evidence is so overwhelming, the government's unshackled councils to an extent from what they can build. So over the last, it's just started in September, so in May, the budget rather early in the year, we got the spending constraints released somewhat for housing, what we could borrow to build council housing. And as I mentioned earlier, there is an issue of a basic lack of council, bed sits, one bedroom flats, that kind of thing. And there's a basic, that basic lack sort of backfills through homelessness, as it were, as a problem. Now we can start to address that properly now. Because in this austerity decade we've had, The money going to housing associations to do that has plummeted. The money going to the third sector to do that has plummeted. So you've had this really unholy alliance of issues that have caused street homelessness to go up.